What's up, guys? Normally I'd have some GoPro footage to share with you guys, but for some reason this race, my GoPro and my Insta360 both decided they didn't want to work. Wouldn't even run off the power from the battery, so here we are. I guess this all started last race at Badlands, talking with Jeremy Blackburn and Gavin Smith, and they're like, "You coming to AOP, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I run central races," and they're like, "Well, you got to come hit AOP." So found out Kurt Mackey was going, decided reached out to him, see if I could tag along with him. He said it's cool, so we headed out Tennessee to get in some, what I was told was supposed to be pretty gnarly stuff, and it lived up to its name. It definitely was gnarly. We get there, what was that? Wednesday night, stayed in the hotel, or Wednesday night, stayed in the hotel. Thursday, we get there, tech, we're there right away, and then we have a long wait till pre-running. So we kind of go over the cars, hang out, talk to people. We go out pre-running, and Kurt decides he's running a stock class this race, and I'm running the open class, so we have a couple of different lines out in the woods, so we get separated, and we meet back up, and then we got separated again in a second bypass section, and I took a wild line. I was in the car by myself and tried to bump up a ledge and gave it a little too much throttle and twisted a rear drive shaft. Thankfully, Tyler Nolik and Mark McClear were there. They kind of helped me get up out of the way, and I was able to let myself back to the pit and had a spare drive shaft there. But without them there, I don't think I'd have been able to, or I'd have been able to, but it would have took me a lot longer to get winched up out of that area. So thanks to them. But I went back, changed the drive shaft, went back out for another lap with Gavin Smith, and we did well. We took a different line on the up-down section and still ended up having the winch, but only had a winch up to the bad spot, and then we made it out of the top after we got up there. So I figured that was kind of a win. You know, I'm not really a rock racer. I've been a woods racer for a long time, and my first time ever in the rocks were last year at Badlands, and then Crossbar, and then Crossbar and Badlands again this year. So don't have a whole lot of time in the rocks, and these rocks were different than about any other rocks around here where I'm at in the Midwest. So it was definitely an experience, a fun one. But so then we get to qualifying. Car was working well. I knew I needed a wheel bearing. Figured I'd wait till after qualifying to change it. Went out qualified early, which I never do. Had a great run going. I mean, I was moving, and then I came up on this rock ledge. We had to jump up, and so for some reason I ran the course 6 times and didn't hit this all 6 times, but for some reason this time I dead stuck my right tire and blew it out. And that was probably a quarter of the way in. The first rock ledge we had to hop up, and so I had to run the rest of the track and the short course and the rock section, all that stuff on a right front flat, but still did pretty well with a 120 or 225 or 226, which put me, I think, fifth in my class. So that's probably one of the better qualifying laps that I've had since I've been racing Ultra 4. So, you know, so things are starting to improve in different ways. I just need to start finishing races. So now we get to race day. Well, actually, well, we're still on the same day because we were supposed to race the next day. They said, "Oh, we're just going to move open class to Friday night." I wasn't prepared. When I dead stuck my tire in qualifying, not only did I blow that tire out, I ripped the bolts out of the bottom of my diff. So I had to scramble and go find longer bolts that Seth over at All Things UTV helped me out with, found me a couple that were long enough, and I got a couple washers to take up the space just to get me by, that way I could race, and that helped out a ton. We red Loctited them, got everything back together, replaced the wheel bearing I needed to replace, got a good tire on there. Once over everything else looked good, so lined it up, and they delayed the race. It rained for about an hour and a half. It was up in the air whether they're going to call it for the next day or they're going to have it that night. They ended up saying, "Okay, well, we're going to have it that night." So I go to put my co-pilot back in the car, Jim Flory, which we've never really hung out or talked before this race, and decided to jump in the car with me, which I was forever grateful for. But we would go to put him in the car, and for some reason the ratchet on his side wasn't ratcheting for the straps. So in a panic, we had to go find another race car that had a up-to-date strap that we could put in there. The link side, luckily, it was a link side I set up the right way, so we're able to put a link side in there, and he was still able to get his belt tightened and we barely made the starting line. Barely, like they came looking for me in the pit. So we made it. We got up there. We take off. We're doing well. We took some good lines. Everybody started about 30 seconds apart. I believe I was 5th in class, right behind Nick Anderson. And like I said, we were moving. Like, the car felt good. Line choices were great. The first one-shot hill, I had a great line that I found through qualifying there, and it was basically right up the gut, and it kept going to the right, so it was like the shortest line too, and it was a little gnarly, but it worked. By the time we got to the top of that there, we were right on Anderson, and I figured I would just tuck in behind him, and we would, ride along with him for a while, see if he's got any better lines than we do. And he pulls over and lets us by. Wasn't prepared for that at all. So we go. I start pushing a little harder than I wanted to, probably. Co-pilot was trying to slow me down. Jim did a great job at that. Came up on a section that I'd only pre-ran once and ran it clean, and ended up getting high center on a rock, and we were going to try to bump through it, but we're like, you know what, let's just winch. It's early in the race. We brake now, race is over. So we winched up out of the spot, got going again for a long while, and then we had to winch at up down. We only had to winch to get up into the rocks. Once we got up into the rocks, I was able to one shot off the top, and Jim jumped back in, and we took off and made some good time going down. Jim had some great line choices that I never even seen going down the ledges, which is probably my biggest room for improvement right now, or the rock ledges. I'm terrified of them, and it's just hard to pick the right lines and remember which ones are which, because there's just so many of them. And he did a good job keeping me calm, telling me where I placed my tire at and all that. So made it through him clean. Second lap, surprisingly, made the whole lap without having the winch. The whole lap. I mean, I was real proud of myself there. It was just one of those moments for yourself. You're like, yeah. I mean, it was a win for me. That was my win right there. I figured I'd be winching all over the place, especially with all the rain and the mud, because it started raining again during the race, and it was just super slick. I didn't have a rock tire. I was on Desert Storms, which didn't cut a single tire all throughout the race, even with all the spinning and mud holes and everything else, and slamming in the rocks. During the main race, didn't cut a single tire. But they're not a sticky rock tire. They're an all-round tire, but they're not designed for rocks. But they did well. They did well, and like I said, I was extremely happy with not having to winch that whole lap. So then we get to the third lap, and we're moving at a good pace. We get through a one shot, we get through the first bypass, we get through all the stuff, and we're probably 100 yards or so before up down, and there's a little G out, and then we go up a hill and the high side of berm, and heard a loud noise, and then it was so slick out, so periodically I'd jump on the brakes, make sure we could stop and stuff like that, and I went to go jump on the brakes, and the pedal went straight to the floor. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm the brake guy. I lose brakes in my race car. Wow. So we jump out and we look, and my driver's side rear fender ripped off the car, and not the pointed side, but the big bulky side that bolts up on the car by the door was jammed down between my rock guard, my trailing arm, my tire, and my caliper. Jammed in there, and it compromised my brake hose down there at the caliper and lost all the fluid. It was in there so tight it took me and Jim both to pull it out of there. So that there, I mean, pretty much ended our race. We were pretty much at the top of the mountain. All we had to do is go up, down, and we'd be dropping down all the gnarly, nasty ledges, and I just didn't want to risk anybody's life at that point in time with having, very, very, very minor brakes. I was able to crimp off what I could on the hard line to the rear to get us a little bit of something, but it wasn't enough for me to feel comfortable taking the car and human lives down them ledges we had to drop down yet with no brakes. So we, but we still had to go up down. So we winched up down, you know, because I was, you know, I didn't want to get up there and have it start rolling back because I didn't have brakes to stop it. So we just winched up it and got out it and talked to a couple of workers up there in a white rock bouncer. They were extremely helpful and gave us a route to get down, even though we had no trail map. They're like, find this number to go to this number to go to that number, and then get to one. And once you get to one, you're good. So we're going, turning around, looking, trying to find all these signs where we're at, and finally made it to one. And one is just extremely, it's steep, it's downhill, but there's no ledges. It's just long and it's downhill and there's turns, and we start to go down the hill and I drop in like a little ledge, like a little small like dip ledge, and luckily I did that because 2 cars were coming up at us, saw the lights, and I wouldn't have been able to stop. Like, they would have been my brakes. So they get to the top. Luckily, they were workers. We had them radio down, make sure nobody was going to come up that trail because we were coming out with no brakes, and we descended down and I had it to the floor. We were still doing about 28 mile an hour, and then we just made it to the bottom. And all in all, it was a good race. I mean, I had fun. Bummer that it was just a fluke thing took me out of the race, but I've got ideas to keep that from. I mean, I've had an idea to prevent that. It was more so meant for the front hoses, but I think I can implement it in the rear. So make sure something like that ain't gonna happen again. And then I realized I'm running open class. I don't need the fenders, so the fenders ain't going back on the car. So, you know, you race, you learn, you fix, you try and prevent. You know, that's what we do. So that's what I'm gonna do. Next race is Sturgis. I'll round out my Central Series. Don't know if I'm gonna do a Joker or not. I don't know. I am planning on going out to Hammers and spectating some of the rock stuff and pitting for a buddy in a desert race. Yeah, not sure what's up for next season, but next race is, you know, I'm just gonna take it one step at a time. Next race is Sturgis. We're gonna get ready for that. And go from there. Well, until then, guys, we will see you later.